Hey, New York. It's time for New York sports talk the way it ought to be. It's the Big Apple Sports Podcast, starring Peter Weintraub and Evan Freeman.
Welcome, everybody, to the Big Apple Sports Podcast. I'm Evan Freeman.
I'm Peter Weintraub.
All right, up first, talking the New York Jets. Bryce Petty finally getting the start today. Unfortunately, the Jets are sucking some major cock right now. But, he's finally named the starting QB. Bowles has said for weeks that he was playing Fitzpatrick because he gave them the best chance to win. And now he's come out and said, no, this was the plan all along once the Jets were basically out of the playoffs because Petty was hurt in the beginning of the season, and the plan was to play him for the last 4 weeks. Now, if this was the reason for doing this, why not just say this in the first place? Because to me, he came off like a complete jackass at 3-7, saying we're still trying to win games.
Yeah.
So, this doesn't make any sense to me. When was he full of shit? Was it then or is it now? I hope it was then. And I hope he was just doing that because he didn't want to cause any problems. But we know Petty was injured to start the season, which is why Geno Smith was even on this roster. And he needed time to come back and then get reps with the first team. So it makes sense, but why not say this in the first place?
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I think that it really was just, his lack of repetition with the first team, lack of preparation, and them having a buffer, even though he's a terrible buffer in Geno Smith. But, in terms of this, I think that, and we heard about this a lot on Sports Talk Radio about how they feel that they would have lost the locker room if they went to Bryce Petty too early. And I get it, as a coach, even though it's only his second year, this team had playoff aspirations to start the year. And, 3-7, it doesn't look good. One team ever has come back from that and made the playoffs at 9-7. But the way the Jets were looking, that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, and the way the AFC was looking, it wasn't going to happen because they weren't going to get the division. And the West is the strongest division in the AFC, so they're probably getting both wildcard spots.
Yeah, they're not going anywhere. They weren't going anywhere. We knew that weeks ago. 3-5, 3-6, so you start to kind of say, okay, let's do it. But yeah, Geno Smith got hurt early when they turned to him originally. Then Petty got his start, apparently just due to the fact that Fitzpatrick's knee was not good enough to go. But, yeah, at the end of the day, you could see Monday Night Football, they look terrible. They're getting blown up right now by the 49ers. It's not even halftime. The 49ers I just saw when they started their third drive of the game, they had possession for only 1 minute and 56 seconds, 5 plays, a little under 100 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
And this also goes to show, should Todd Bowles be the coach of this team? The defense isn't showing up. When they allow Carlos Hyde's a great running back, but when you allow him to do what he's doing right now to this team, that's pride right there. Run stopping is about pride. So they're not showing up. Listen, I don't believe he should be fired yet.
No. I
think you can't fire a coach after 2 seasons unless he commits a felony or something.
Right. Yeah.
But, next year, that's the year where he really needs to show something because if they don't do anything next year, you have to go out and find. First of all, the Jets need to stop hiring first-time coaches.
Yeah.
This is absolutely ridiculous. Go out and find a coach who's been a head coach before. It hasn't worked. Every time they hire a first-time head coach, it doesn't work out.
No.
It's like the last 5 coaches. Mangini was the first-time head coach. Yep. Herm Edwards did the best out of all of them, but he didn't do great.
No.
Rex Ryan had 2 good years because they had the best offensive line in football. And then he completely fell off. And this is what happens when you have first-time head coaches is they don't really know how to deal with the adversity because they're not used to being in charge of everything. Listen, Todd Bowles wants to run his defense. Rex Ryan wanted to run his defense.
It's not working.
This is an offensive league. You need an offense in order to win unless you have a top 3 defense like Denver had last year where they had the number 1 defense, and that was a legitimate chance to be one of the best defenses of all time.
Yes.
They were able to overcome their lack of a throwing game, but they also had great running backs and they had pretty good wide receivers.
Yeah.
So you need to make sure you're developing the offense because it's really hard to get one of those defenses.
Yeah. And the Jets, they thought they were going to have one of those. Obviously, it hasn't worked out that way. Darrelle Revis has underperformed well under even what he did last year. And last year he fell off a step, but this year he's getting lit up, it seems, every single game.
But it's the whole secondary because he's older. There should be safety help over the top, and there's no safety help.
There isn't.
And that's on the coaching staff.
Yep.
Tell Cal Pryor, help Darrell Rivas, tell whoever's on the other side. I forgot what his name is because he's been playing so bad.
Gilchrist?
Get over there. Yeah. Tell Marcus Gilchrist, get over there. We need to help him. He's not as quick as he was. He's over 30, and he's getting toasted by these guys because these guys are essentially track stars.
Yeah.
A.J. Green is an elite wide receiver. Even the guy on Buffalo, he's a speed guy.
Yeah,
you need to give him help over the top, and they're not doing it. And that's what that's what irks me kind of about Todd Bowles is that we see this. Everyone sees it. They're not making the adjustments. Now, do the guys on the field not know how to do this? That, part of coaching is teaching. So if he can't teach them how to do this, either change the system or after next season, probably need to change the coach.
Yeah, I don't think it's so much. I mean, it is to a point on Bulls. Like the last couple of games, it's apparent, even in this game that's going on right now as we film this, they're not showing up. They're just not showing up. I see guys, in coverage, linebackers and safeties who you said should be helping out over the top. They're not doing shit. They're standing there. They're not running after the guy who has the ball. They're not helping the corners and the guys up front. They're not doing anything. They're literally just standing there, letting Carlos Hyde and shitty wide receivers. Colin Kaepernick is tearing them up right now. And he sucks. But he's tearing them up because they're not doing shit. They're not providing help. They're not doing their jobs. That falls in part on the coaching staff for not motivating them, but also a lot of those guys are veterans. They've been in this league a long time, whether with the Jets or with other teams. And the fact that they're just giving up, and I get it, you're 3-9, you suck, you're not going anywhere.
So go out there and play hard. It's still bullshit. You get paid millions of dollars. But the thing that bothers me more about that is that Muhammad Wilkerson missed a meeting or was late to me, whatever it was. Willie Colon went on ESPN radio and said he already see that when he was on the team, which he hasn't been. Last year he was hurt the whole year and he wasn't on the team this year. So this is 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. He spoke to the guys who missed meetings. Mm-hmm. He didn't say it outright, but he implied Muhammad Wilkerson was one of them. We just give Muhammad Wilkerson a lot of money.
Yeah.
So if he's not going to be a stand-up guy on this team, if he doesn't start showing up to meetings, they're in trouble because he's supposed to be a leader on the defense. His contract says so. His play on the field says so. Show up to where you're supposed to be. That's what you get paid to do. Yeah. And that's what comes down to culture on the team. And if you don't have a coach who can bring this guy in, we need a different coach.
Agreed.
And I'm down to give him another year to see if he can do it. I'm not saying fire him right now.
No.
If he can't bring these guys together and get them disciplined and get them going in the right direction, then he's not the guy for the job.
Yeah, and moreover, one more point about that, obviously, like you said, these guys are getting paid millions of dollars. And a lot of them, they don't have these long multi-year contracts. They're not locked up like Muhammad Wilkerson. And no contract in the NFL is guaranteed. They can give you a 10-year contract worth over $100 million right now. That doesn't mean they're going to pay you even half of it. If you suck, look at, what was his name? Albert Hainsworth on the Redskins. He got this huge 8-year deal. They cut him after year 2 because he was just so terrible. He was not showing up to meetings. He came in out of shape. He actually got outperformed by ESPN analysts because I ran the tests.
That was ridiculous. Yeah, Golick outperformed him on the shuttle run test.
Golick at the time wasn't working out. He wasn't doing anything.
He was like 46 at the time, too.
Yeah, and that's the point, is at some point, these guys are professionals. I don't think it falls all on Bulls. To a degree it does, but for the most part, these are grown men. They know what they need to do. They know this is their meal ticket. They know nothing is guaranteed. The fact that they're not showing up, that they're not performing well, that they're not showing up to meetings or doing any of this shit, that's on them. And if I'm Mike McCagnon, then I'd want to get those fuckers out of Dodge. I don't care how much of a fan favorite. I don't care how much they've done in the past. If they're not showing up, whether off the field to meetings or on the field, and get them out. You don't need cancer like that. I'd rather lose with guys who are going to give it all on every play than lose with guys who are very talented and were underperforming consistently because they just don't give a fuck.
Oh, yeah, it's not completely on the coaching staff, but you do need a coaching staff that is going to bring these guys in. Mm-hmm. And obviously, if they get another coach and there's only like 1 or 2 guys that aren't falling in line, you got to get rid of those guys. Yeah. But the way that it sounds, and I'm not saying this is the way it is, but the way that it sounds is that Bowles does not have control of that room. And he needs to get control of that room because that is his job. First and foremost is to control. Yeah. His job is not to call defensive plays. He's the head coach. Yeah. That's why you have a defensive coordinator. His job is not to call offensive plays. He's not an offensive coordinator. His job is to overview everything, bring the right people in to make the team successful. In terms of staff and everything, the general manager brings in the players, but his job is overall, it's management. Mm-hmm. And this is the issue when you bring in first-time head coaches who are really good coordinators. And there's a saying that you rise to the level of your incompetence. Mm-hmm. So usually if you're really, really good at something, like if you're in sales and you're a really, really good salesman, they'll promote you to sales manager. Mm-hmm. If you're a really, really good sales manager, you'll get promoted. If you're a shitty sales manager, you'll usually stay as the sales manager because you're not good enough to get promoted. The problem is you're not good enough to do that job either. So a good coordinator will get promoted to head coach. If he sucks as a head coach, he's going to stay there until he gets fired. Mm-hmm. The problem is you need to bring in a guy who's a head coach that can do the job.
Yeah, and
this is why St. Louis keeps Jeff Fisher. Listen, are they underperforming? Maybe, but they know that he has that room. He has guys buying in. So even though they suck, they know he can do the job, and that's why he still has a job. Yeah. So we need to find someone. It's not easy finding a coach that you think is going to do a great job, but we need to look for established people. We got to stop going after coordinators. It's ridiculous. Yeah. It's not working. It hasn't worked in 20 years. Stop doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's move on to the Giants.
All right, the Giants playing the Dallas Cowboys tonight. Big game for Giants. Kind of a big game for Dallas. They want to avenge that loss. Yeah, they can lock everything up with a win, and then I think Seattle losing. They can literally lock up the number 1 seed. Mm-hmm. For them, that's not that great. And if I was a Giants fan, I'd rather actually have them lock everything up tonight because then they're not playing any meaningful games for about 4 or 5 weeks? Mm-hmm. 3 weeks. They won't play any meaningful games. Right. So when they show up to the playoffs, they're not going to hopefully, for Cowboys fans, hope they're going to have that fire. But it's hard to play meaningless games for almost a month and then come out on top of your game. Yeah. Now, listen, I know the Giants need to win this game because in order to make the playoffs, they need to win at least two of their next.
Yeah, they need to go 2-2.
Yeah, they need to go 2-2. But what I've seen from this team, now JPP is out. He's been playing a lot better. They're going to miss the claw on defense. That's a big thing. And they missed him last week. Mm-hmm. And that's why they lost because, they're not the same team. No
pressure on the quarterback.
No pressure. And this team is offensively, they're talking about, Odell is the only one getting targeted. He's the only one open. Yeah. This offensive line is still playing like crap. Mm-hmm. Which goes back to the trade deadline. They didn't bring in Joe Thomas. They didn't shore up the offensive line. Mm-hmm. They're still having the same problems. Yep. So, what the Giants can do to win this game, they have to stop the run. Yep. You have to make Dak Prescott beat you by himself because if Ezekiel Elliott gets going, it's over. The reason why Dak Prescott's so successful and the reason why guys like Mark Sanchez, who in the playoffs was successful, and Brendan Roethlisberger was successful because they have a good defense, a great offensive line, and a run game. Yep. Take away the run game from a rookie quarterback. I don't care who he is. Yeah. He's going to falter. And that's what the Giants need to do tonight if they plan on winning this game.
Yeah. And I don't think they're going to win. I don't think they have a shot.
I don't think so either. That's what
they did. A lot of Giants fans, early in the season, we're the only team to beat them. Yeah, but they got going after that, and they haven't stopped. They haven't suffered any major injuries. Everything's intact. Ezekiel Elliott's on pace to set all sorts of rookie running.
And they've gotten their defensive players back who were out earlier in the season.
Yeah, and that's the most impressive thing is they, up until recently, were not even at full strength, and they were still beating teams. It hasn't been pretty all the time, but Prescott's had a great year. Elliott, like you mentioned, has had a great year. They have a great offensive line. Their defense is good enough. I think the Giants, the only way they outshine them is they have a better defense than the Cowboys. But I think the Cowboys' offense is going to be much better. It's much more well-balanced, and that's going to be the difference. Because they're going to have double coverage on OBJ all game. So what are you going to do? Victor Cruz has to get open. Sterling Shepard has to get open. And can somebody please run the fucking ball?
They don't have a running back. But you know what? If they can make Dak Prescott throw, I think the Giants can get something going tonight. Yeah. The biggest issue is that without JPP, you're relying on other guys to get pressure on the quarterback. Damon Harrison, while he's a very good player, he's a run stopper. He's not a pass rusher. No. So you have to find a way to get pressure from other spots, from the linebackers, from the nickel corner maybe. You have to find a way to make him uncomfortable in the pocket, and you have to contain him because he also has legs. Mm-hmm. But the first and foremost, you have to take out Ezekiel Elliott, and then you have to protect Eli Manning. Mm-hmm. Because if you're not going to protect Eli Manning, it doesn't matter what you're going to do.
Yeah.
It's going to be another ugly game like Dallas had last week where they won, what was it, like 13-10?
Yeah.
Time. The horrible against Minnesota. That was a horrible game.
Mm-hmm.
Now, listen, I hope the Giants win because I hate Dallas. I hate every Dallas fan. They're almost as bad. They're not. All right, I was about to say they're almost as bad as Flyers fans, but that's just too mean to say.
Yeah, no one's that bad.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I saw the Flyers Winter Classic jerseys that they just came out with.
Mm-hmm.
They look just like their fan base.
No.
Big bag of shit.
Yeah.
All right, but I hope the Giants win. It's going to be a rough game. They're going to have to really step up their game from the way they've played for the last month.
Yeah, they've been winning by the skin of their teeth. They didn't win last week.
They look bad.
I think they are going to make the playoffs, the Giants, ultimately. I don't think they're winning tonight. I think their 2 wins are going to come elsewhere. I think one in division, at least. They might win both in division, which should be good for them, good confidence builder. But, I mean, the Giants, looking at them even going into the season, what would we think, 8-8, 9-7?
Yeah.
And then they've outperformed that. If they go 2-2, they're 10-16.
10-6.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
And I didn't think they were going to make the playoffs in the beginning of the season. They did pick it up, but they're not going anywhere if they don't start playing better. Right. So maybe, will making the playoffs help? I don't know.
Well, knowing them, the way that they go.
should Jerry Reese have a job if they make the playoffs and get smoked in the first round?
No.
This guy has the longest leash in the history of sports.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like that.
He's made the playoffs, once?
Once.
Because he came in the year after they won the Super Bowl the first time. He made the playoff once. They won the Super Bowl, yes. But that wasn't mostly his team.
No. So,
listen, I think if they don't make the playoffs this year, Jerry Reese has got to go.
Yeah.
Because he has made questionable decisions, a lot of questionable decisions that have hurt this team. And you can tell because they've only made the playoffs once since they won their first Super Bowl.
Once under his watch.
Yeah, once under his watch. And, no one, I don't know if anyone else in sports besides Brian Cashman could get away with that. But Cashman has a resume of winning World Series.
He's won many, yeah.
Yeah, he's won many championships. So there's the difference. So I think the Giants really need to take a look at Jerry Reese. 1, if they don't make the playoffs, and 2, if they get bounced in the first round of playoffs.
Yeah, they have to make it
probably happen. So Jerry Reese needs them to make the conference championship, I think, in order to keep his job.
Yeah, I'd say that's the cutoff point. But, yeah, I mean, he's left a lot of glaring holes. Offensive line, like you mentioned, is terrible. Running game is terrible. And that's partially due to the offensive line, but it's also due – Rashad Jennings is old. He's banged up. I mentioned on an earlier episode the regimen he has to go through is almost like what David Wright has to do for spinal stenosis. So to just practice during the week, let alone play it. Like, you don't want a guy who with one bad hit is done. And then what do you have behind him? I don't even know who their backup running back is. And I barely know who he is.
Yeah, it's bad. And he didn't address, he addressed the defense. That's great. He did not address the offensive line. He didn't address the run game, which are 2 huge things. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if he keeps his job after this year. I'm guessing he will, but should he?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
All right. I don't think he should either.
All right, moving on to hockey, starting with the Midnight Hockey League. Your favorite Milwaukee Bears on a 3-game winning streak. And last Thursday, Billy Whitman scored his first goal ever for the Milwaukee Bears. Had to give him a shout out. Next game is Tuesday at Dix Hills at 10:50 p.m. against Pucks and Recreation. So moving on to the New York Rangers. They started off real hot. They cooled off a little bit, but they're still winning at a good pace. They're not scoring at the same pace, but they're still winning games. The issue is this team, 1, is young, like we've been saying. They're a speed team, but the lack of physicality. I was at the game last Friday where they won against Carolina. They played really well in the third period, but there is no physicality on this team at all. There is no hitting. You know who's hitting? Matt Zuccarello. He's the one hitting people. Listed at 5'6", so he's about 5'2" on foot, and he's the one hitting people. All right, they need to get more physical. They need to find a way. Listen, if they have to bring somebody in, they have to bring somebody up. But they're not going to last the season, and they're not going to last the playoffs without having a physical presence on this team.
Yeah. I mean, even look at this team when they were going to the conference finals and the Stanley Cup championship. Why were they getting beaten around at that point? I mean, A, they were run down, but B, it's because they lacked the physicality. The Kings, when they got to the Stanley Cup finals, they got knocked around the entire fucking series. The Kings are just bigger and stronger, and it showed. And
the Rangers had 2-goal leads in 4 of those games. They had 2-goal leads and then lost in overtime.
They got run down.
Yeah, because the Kings were bigger and more physical, and they beat them up. The Rangers should have won that series if they had 1 or 2 guys who could hit. Or if they were a little bit bigger, they would have won that series because they were the more talented team. They just got beat the fuck up. So this team definitely, I think they need to either find their physicality or you need to bring somebody in. Kevin Hayes is listed at 6'5". He needs to start hitting people.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous.
I never understood how big guys in any sport don't use their physicality to their advantage. You should. It's a contact sport.
Listen, I'm 5'8" on foot, and I'm going around hitting people in a non-hitting league. They need to do this. But you're a hockey player. Nut up and do it. Like, seriously, it's a little ridiculous. Yeah. But, I think it's huge. And, Lundqvist hasn't looked great this season. Part of it is that he's getting older. Yes. But I think most of it is that he doesn't trust his defense.
Yeah.
This defense is porous, and they're not playing well. The only one who's playing really well is McDonough. Holden had a game winner the other night. He's been playing okay. Glenn Denning's been playing okay. Girardi's been playing better than he has in past years. Stoll and Girardi, they're still not playing well though. So they're not strong in front of him, and he doesn't trust them, so he's not trusting himself.
Yeah, so he's coming out and he's getting beat.
Yeah, they need to make changes on this defense because Henrik Lundqvist, I don't care what you say, is still the best goaltender on this team. He's still the best. He's still a top 3 or 4 goaltender in this league.
Yeah,
easily.
Yeah, he may not be number 1 anymore, but he's still up there.
Well, we'll see what happens if they can bring someone in defensively and he can get a little more confidence because it looks like a lack of confidence.
Yeah.
Because he's given up soft goals. It's it's that sometimes he's out of position. It's not that he's getting beat. He's not getting beat on hard shots where his reflexes are slowed.
Right.
He's getting beat on these little things where he's a little bit off and he looks a little hesitant. Yeah. And a lot of that comes from who's in front of you. So Alain Vigneault's a great coach, and he's taken this team and he's made them a winner right now. Mm-hmm. We'll see how it goes for the rest of the season. But right now, they're a winner. They're winning games. They're in the top. They're at the top of the division. Mm-hmm. That's the way it works. You win games, you're at the top of the division, you get the most points. They need to find the physicality, and they need to shore up this defense. Because if they don't, they're not going anywhere. I'm not saying they're going to win the Stanley Cup this year, even if they do.
Yeah.
But if they shore up that defense and they get a little more physical, there's no reason they can't get to the second round or even possibly the conference finals. This is an extremely talented team, as they've already shown. And you have a top 3 goaltender. Anything is possible. Realistically, not everything's probable, but anything is possible. But they need to make these changes.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, they're a young team. Like you said, you can't have Stanley Cup aspirations for them right away. But they aren't that far off, like you said. Physicality, obviously some players, they're just not physical, regardless of their size or what position they play. But like you said, they can either call someone up, maybe someone in the minors who is known for being physical, just to bring that type of energy to the team. Or, the trade deadline is still pretty far off. You can still get something done because if the defense continues to play the way that they're playing, they're going to need it. They're going to need help because if they want to make any legitimate run, like you said, they're going to need to shore that up, give Lundqvist some confidence so he can get back to playing the way and the caliber that you're used to.
Yeah, that's the only way to do it because you see it. I even see it on my team. Listen, last year we were 8-1 through 9 games. We beat up on everybody. Once we got to the playoffs, a few teams brought in ringers that were big physical guys. Listen, they started hitting us, bumping us around. We ended up getting knocked in the first round because you get run down. You lose the speed when you get hit.
Right.
And the Rangers it's going to happen to the Rangers, and they need to get something to counteract that.
Right.
All right. So the Islanders, they suck. They suck a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They suck so much
Yeah.
that I don't even have a word for how much they suck right now.
I don't think there's a word in the English language.
I might need to look something up in my Spanish to English dictionary to see if there's something even more, more than suck. Yeah. But they've been at the bottom of the division. Mm-hmm. Listen, they beat the Rangers last week. Whoop-de-doo. Islander fans celebrated. It's one game. You're still in last place. Like, who cares? Listen, your team's in trouble when the highlight of your season so far is beating your crosstown rival.
Yeah.
Listen, when the Rangers were perennial losers, yes, I reveled in beating the Islanders.
Yeah.
But now that we're perennial contenders, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
The only team I really care about beating is the Flyers.
Yeah.
Because I hate the Flyers. But listen, when the highlight of your season is beating your crosstown rival, you got to make changes.
Your team sucks when you're reveling in defeating a team that's better than them.
Yeah.
And they just win on any given night. That's professional sports. It happens all the time.
Listen, should you enjoy the win? Of course.
Sure, but
the other way around, I'm going to enjoy the win. But when you're literally I see people celebrating.
Well, your team sucks when that happens.
It's ridiculous. That's not a celebration. That's, okay, awesome, we won. Move on, next game.
Yeah.
All right? But listen, we know why Jack Capuano still has a job.
We do.
He's best buddies with Garth Snow. And Garth Snow is not going to dump this guy. Now, do we have to dump Garth? Do you have to dump Garth Snow?
Yeah.
Yes, because you have to get rid of Jack Capuano.
Yeah.
You have John Tavares. Listen, John Tavares can leave this team in 2 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
He will leave.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, if Jack Capuano is the coach in 2 seasons, John Tavares is going to be on the Rangers.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, they will find the way to clear the cap space and Rangers, and the Rangers will win the Stanley Cup. That is a fact.
I don't know if that's a fact.
No, that is a fact. If you replace Rick Nash with John Tavares,
that's a huge upgrade.
That's what I'm saying. That's what they'll do. They'll dump Nash, they'll dump somebody else, and they'll bring in John Tavares, and they'll keep the most of this team the same. And he'll be on that team, and with the top 4 player at center on that top line, the Rangers will be the favorite to win the Stanley Cup.
Favorite, yeah.
100%, and I guarantee they'll go ahead and do it because they'll still have excellent goaltending.
Yeah.
All right? That will happen. The Islanders fans, if you want to keep John Tavares, you need to dump Jack Capuano, and they know it. They know it. Islander fans know this guy is garbage. The fact that he still has a job is amazing. It's the same thing. It's like, how did Bill de Blasio get elected mayor? It's unbelievable. I just don't even understand. I don't get it. They're both complete idiots. It's amazing. But they got to dump him. It's ridiculous. The team looks terrible.
Yeah, and they're not as good on paper or pretty much anywhere as the Rangers or some other perennial contenders. But they're supposed to be better than this. They're not supposed to be a last-place team.
They should not be in the bottom of the division.
Maybe middle of the pack, maybe a little bit better than middle of the pack, but they're not supposed to be this bad. And the reason they're this bad, we preached it every week, we'll preach it again. Lack of consistency. They change the lines every fucking game. You don't know who the hell's starting at goaltender every night. It's ridiculous. He needs to get out. They need a real legitimate coach. We talked about this with the Jets, but we're seeing it with the Islanders because this guy's been here for years. And, yes, they made the playoffs a couple times. They didn't really go anywhere. One of those years they didn't have a ton of talent. Another one of those years they had a lot of talent, and they shit the bed early because of him and his inconsistency. And ultimately, to get to the promised land, you need a good coach. And if their general manager, Garth Snow, is not willing to do that because they're in bed together, then you got to get rid of both of them. Got to clean house. And we'll see what happens. We'll see how much longer the owners will accept this.
Yeah, hopefully not. I mean, for Islander fans, hopefully not too much longer. I'm sick of seeing him with his ridiculous haircut on my TV. Yeah. He looks like someone took a piece of hair and just like glued it right on the front. Just like
kind of like Donald Trump.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to the Knicks. The Knicks suck.
Yeah.
The Knicks suck and they're dysfunctional.
Yeah, they're dysfunctional.
Now Phil and Melo are fighting on social media. This is absolutely ridiculous.
Well, they apparently made up earlier.
They shouldn't have never gotten to that point anyway.
No, I agree.
What are you doing? First of all, Phil Jackson needs to have his Twitter account taken away from him.
Yeah.
Melo needs to shut his mouth and start getting in the gym because he still looks like a doughy little bitch. All right? Yeah. It's absolutely ridiculous. You're a professional athlete.
Yeah.
Come on. This team is dysfunctional.
Yeah.
They're dysfunctional and, there's no leadership because we saw that the other night. Brandon Jennings tried to start getting people together. He started yelling at people and Melo stands up and shuts him down.
Yep.
Mel, if you're going to shut him down, turn around and yell at the guy next to you because there's a consistent lack of effort on this team.
Yeah, that's their big problem because you see when they show up, they are I don't know if top 10, but they're up there.
They're a playoff team. They're definitely absolutely a playoff team when they show up.
This is a pleasure to see. Since their 54-win season, which is 4 or 5 years ago, this is the best they've played.
But they're not showing up.
They're not. One night they did.
Professional athlete.
Last night they did when they beat the Kings. Well, they only won by 3. But when they show up,
missed 2 free throws late. 2. It's a free throw. It's the easiest shot in sports.
Yeah, and he hits almost 90% of his.
It's ridiculous that anyone in the NBA makes less than 80% of free throws is a freaking crime.
Did you see
if you give a hockey player a shot from the freaking center ice with no goaltender, 90% of people in the NHL would make that 99% of the time. It's ridiculous that you have a free shot with a ball and a hoop, and it doesn't go in at least 80% of the time.
Yeah, it's really bad. I never understood that either. Speaking of which, have you seen that video of what's his name? DeMarcus Cousins making fun of Joakim Noah and how he shoots free throws?
No, I didn't see that yet.
So when they were playing the Kings, not this game, but they played them earlier in the week. When they were playing them, Noah was taking free throws, and in between them, DeMarcus Cousins just tapped him on the chest, and then he, like, mimicked how he shoots, because he shoots like Hey Arnold did in the cartoon. And it's like – and he's like, really? And it's true. Like, you're a professional basketball player, and I get for a big man, the ball's so tiny compared to your hand, and it's hard to grip it well, but still, you're a professional basketball player. You're right. Free throws, I never understood that. But in any event –
it's absurd.
But in any event, last thing about the Knicks, just to reiterate your point, I agree 100%. And we've talked about this since the beginning of the season. They're a good team when they show up. They just, they've got the talent. Derrick Rose, when he's on point, is great. And he's coming back tonight after missing a couple of games due to injury. Brandon Jennings has been a spark. Anthony's hit some big shots late. Porzingis is really developing.
I really like what I'm seeing from Kristaps Porzingis.
Yeah.
And I don't watch a lot of basketball, but I usually watch the highlights to kind of stay up to date on them, and he's looking really good.
Yeah. And then even their bench, they made some good acquisitions in the offseason. They have one of Porzingis' friends, I forget how to say his name, from Lithuania. He's actually been pretty good. And then Drew Holiday's brother, Justin Holiday, has been pretty good, as has the other center from Spain that they got. They look pretty good. But like you said, it's all about consistency, and that's all mental. That's part coaching. I don't know if it's all on Hornacek, but there are guys like Melo who's been in this losing environment and who is kind of aloof. And he'll turn it on and then he'll turn it off. Like, he's never consistently dialed in. And when you're one of the best players on the team, that kind of cascades down through the roster. And that's a problem. You need to show up.
Yeah, and listen, Melo is who he is. He's been this way. We know this.
Why do you think the Nuggets got rid of him?
Carmelo Anthony is an elite – well, they got rid of him because he said he was leaving. He said he wasn't going to resign. Yeah. But he's an elite scorer. That's all he is. We need to stop thinking that he's LeBron James. He's not LeBron James. He's not Dwayne Wade. He's not Chris Paul. He's not he's not a leader on this team, which is a problem because there is no leader. People always think, listen, the best player on the team needs to be a leader. It doesn't. It just needs to be someone who plays hard, who plays consistently, and who's out there. Okay? It doesn't matter in sports who has the C, who has the A, whatever it is. You're out there, you're playing hard, you're talking to guys, you're bringing people together. That's a leader, okay? So I don't care what people say. Carmelo Anthony is not a leader, and that's fine.
Yeah, not everybody is.
Yeah, most people are not leaders.
Right.
Most people are sheep. Most people, you tell them what to do, and they'll follow and go ahead and do it. Right. That's it. Most people are sheep, okay? They need a lion on this team. They need someone to take charge who's going to be like, listen, guys, this is how we're going to play. This is the way it's going to be. We're going to play hard. We're going to play both ends of the floor, and we're going to win games because there's no reason this team has enough talent.
Oh, yeah.
At least
the second round.
At least a 5 seed.
Yeah, and
if they're a 5 seed, I'd be disappointed with the amount of talent on this team.
Yeah.
So someone needs to step up. I don't care if it's Derrick Rose. I don't care if it's Noah, even though Noah's kind of a douchebag.
Yeah, but Noah's been trying, and Jennings, you said, has been trying. And that's the thing. Those guys in the locker room, like Melo, like, you got to shut the fuck up because he's right. Like, the way they got beat by the Cavs, and listen, the Cavs are a much better team than the Knicks.
Yeah, but the way they got beat was LeBron's doing the freaking water bottle. First of all, LeBron James, you're a complete asshole.
Yeah.
There's a time and a place. First of all, there's no time and place for doing the water bottle flip.
No.
Second of all, stop putting that shit on the internet. It's ridiculous. I've been flipping water bottles since I was in second grade. It's not new. You just started putting it on the internet.
Or is it impressive?
Yeah, shut it. It's not impressive either. There's more. The water's in the bottom of the freaking bottle. It's heavier. It should land on the bottom almost every time unless you're a complete moron, okay? Yeah. So enough with the water bottle challenge, okay? Yeah. But he should not be doing that during a game.
No.
I don't care. Listen, our game last Thursday, we were up 4-0 early in the second, and the other team asked the refs to run the clock because they knew they were going to get their asses kicked. Mm-hmm. From that second on, we went into super hockey mode where we just started pushing the pace even more. We started playing harder when they gave up, right? You do not let your guard down as an athlete. You don't.
Yeah, you can't.
And it's absolutely ridiculous that they're flipping a water bottle on the sidelines. They should have got a technical foul.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be doing that crap.
Yeah.
But even then, have some pride. Carmelo, Derrick Rose, these guys are veterans. Yeah. No, these guys are veterans. Have a little bit of self-respect. Come out there and hit somebody. I don't give a shit. They go to the rim. Put him in the floor. Who
Yeah.
gives it? Listen, these guys are all going to be friends. I get it. Listen, if I play against one of my friends, I'm like, listen, you have fair warning. If you start doing some stupid shit, I'm going to put you into the wall. That's it. Listen, if you're not respecting me during the game, and people are like, oh, well, he wasn't disrespecting Carmelo. Yeah, he was. He was disrespecting the Knicks. He was disrespecting the Garden, and someone needed to go out, and the second LeBron steps on that floor the next time they play,
knock him on his ass.
Listen, I don't care if you get knocked down too. Go up, throw an elbow right into his chest. Be like, you are not pulling that shit again. Yeah. And they won't. They won't because basketball players are soft as baby shit.
Yeah, most of them
That's the way the NBA is now. No one's hard anymore.
No. Yeah, and the ones who are usually scrutinized. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's unprofessional to do something like that. And I actually posted something about that, the next day when that was making rounds on the internet. Like, I saw it during the game because I watched the game. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? But it was like a, 5-second segment, and then they went back to the game, and I forgot about it. But then it was all over the internet, and I was like, wow, and nobody, and you're right, nobody did anything to step up. And in any sport, at any level, if someone does that, they should be put into the fucking ground next chance you get. Next time they step on the court or the field.
We had our first game of the season. We played a team that was much better than us. They should not even have been in our division. One of the guys started talking shit when he scored late. So we punched him. Someone dropped gloves, and he punched him in the face. Good. You have to have, as an athlete, if you want to win, if you want to be a champion, I don't care if you're getting blown out. Listen, everyone gets blown out once in a while.
Yeah, it happens.
The Patriots lose football games, all right?
Yeah.
It happens. You have to come up. You have to step up. And listen, whether it's men's sports, women's sports, whatever it is, step up, have some self-respect, and pop somebody in the mouth. Because if you don't, people are going to walk all over you.
Yep.
Absurd that the fact that they let them get away with that crap.
Yep. Right. We'll see what happens next time they play the Cavs, but most likely nothing.
I'm getting mad, and I don't even watch basketball anymore.
Yep.
All right, moving on. The New York Mets. A little while ago, they did bring back Yoenis Cespedes. Very happy about this. But now we have too many outfielders.
Yes.
So, who do we try to move, Jay Bruce or Curtis Granderson?
Curtis Granderson. There's not even a question. I hate how everybody thinks, oh, Jay Bruce sucked for us in the 2 months he played here, so we got to get rid of him. And look, the guy played in Cincinnati, and not to give excuses, the guy played in Cincinnati his entire career. He's used to 10,000 people tops being at that ballpark. They haven't contended in his entire career. He's used to hardly any hard media questions after the game. He didn't care about being the guy because they sucked. Here, he comes into a playoff spot in the biggest sports market in the world, and he's immediately expected because if a lot of people don't remember, Cespedes was down for a bit when Bruce came on board. That's one of the main reasons they got him. They were trying to replace some of Cespedes' production because his quad was nagging him, and they had to put him on the shelf for a little bit. And he didn't produce. He came on a little bit late. He actually he hit a double in the the divisional playing game that they lost. But he's younger, and he's a better player than Granderson. Look, I love Granderson. He plays every game. He plays hard. He plays the right way. But this is a guy who used to steal 20, 30 bases a year. Can't steal more than 5. This is a guy who he wouldn't hit for average, but he hit 260. He hit 230 last year. He didn't even drive in double the runs that he hit out of the ballpark. He's not the guy, and he's going to be 36, as opposed to Bruce, who's 30?
But the other question is, are you going to get anything for Granderson, or are you actually going to get more for Jay Bruce? That's the other side of it. Listen, I agree with you. I think they need to get rid of Granderson because I honestly think that he's done. He's basically finished. I think if he's on the team this year, he's going to be terrible. Yeah. But are you going to get anything for him? Now, if you try to move Bruce, you might actually get something really good.
Right. You would think that, but apparently, this is all according to the MLB rumor mills. Who knows what's right or what's wrong?
It's probably all wrong.
Yeah, but apparently they were getting better offers for Granderson than for Bruce.
Oh, boom. Get him out. Done. End of story.
And I agree with you. I would have pulled the trigger, but they're not. Alderson really likes Granderson, apparently, and that's one of the main reasons St. Alderson. He's dangling him out there because obviously if he gets an offer he can't refuse, then obviously you go with that.
You know what's an offer you can't refuse for Curtis Granderson? A bucket full of baseballs. He's going to be done this year. I'm telling you. I'm feeling it. Yeah, he's older. He's going down every year. He has a 2-week span where he comes back to life, and then, boom, he's gone again.
Yeah, he's crashed for another month and a half.
Dump him. And GMs need to stop working with their heart because this is what gets them in trouble.
Yeah, Alderson usually doesn't do that, which is shocking, but apparently that's been one of the main reasons. But Granderson, 6 years older than Bruce, making $2 million more a year, you take $15 million off the books, or even if you make a trade and you pick up $5 million or even $10 million of that, you still have some extra money because the Mets need some relief help, and maybe they need a third baseman because –
Well, apparently David Wright's going to be their third baseman.
Come on.
What the –
like that is the dumbest thing I've heard in quite a while.
I couldn't believe it. I'm listening to the radio. I'm listening to Han and Humpty, and Rick DiPietro goes, "Oh no! Don't you know David Wright's playing third base?" They came out and said yesterday. I'm like, did I just smoke a whole bunch of crack and not realize it?
Well,
like,
probably.
Are you kidding me?
Still.
Hopefully not, because I was driving to work.
Yeah.
But like, are you kidding? Like, that's insane.
Yeah,
that is insane. The fact that you're going to make David Wright your starting
and that is another bad move that's definitely being made from the heart. Because look. David Wright, as high as his voice is, he commands respect in that locker room. He is the captain of that team. I can see him being a manager or a coach one day for sure. Because you see when he talks to the younger guys, they look at him and you can see they're focused in on him. They're listening and they're into what he says. He does command respect. He has had a great career, and I appreciate everything he's done for this
His
team.
playing days are done.
But yeah.
It's over.
Look, before last year, when he had a neck injury, it wasn't due to his stenosis apparently. But okay. That's your cervical spine. Then you got your thoracic and your lumbar spine. So when your lumbar spine's fucked, yeah. When your lumbar spine is fucked, when your cervical spine is fucked, you don't have much spine left that isn't fucked. And when you already have to go to the ballpark 6 hours ahead of when the team was supposed to get there to warm up, just so we can warm up for warm-ups, and then he had to limit his swings and all this shit. Why? And he couldn't throw last year. I remember he missed so many throws taking the first baseman, whether it was Duda or Loney, off the bag because he wasn't in position.
He
can't
do it
because of his back.
It's what he's done, and he needs to,
Yeah, I mean, he's played 72 games in the last 3 years.
That's horrible.
And he's making $20 million next year.
Listen, bring him on as a coach. Bring him on as a coach, but he can't be playing for this team.
If I'm the GM of that team, regardless of how I feel about him personally, I would say to him, listen, you know who our owners are. They're not going to give us any extra money. We got what we got left over from players who came off the cap. You gotta walk away. You'll get paid by insurance, so you're not going to stand to lose any money because his contract's guaranteed one way or the other.
Yeah.
You got to walk away. We want you in the organization. We want you to be a coach or whatever, but you got to walk away. And they got to give either Flores a shot, or they got to give either TJ Rivera a shot. Maybe even Jose Reyes again will be the starting third baseman. Who knows? But you're going into this year with a surplus of players and having a guy who's going to play for about a month before he shuts down. And what we said, 100 games he might play?
Yeah, we were off.
We were so off.
Oh, I said less. I said less than 100.
Oh, we said less too, but we didn't think it was going to be
because they were talking about him playing like 110 games. And we said there was no way he was getting to 100.
Yeah, we were saying like 90.
Yeah.
At most.
At the most.
And he played 36. That's
ridiculous. It's ridiculous. All right. Well, we got to stop. We got to keep on.
Yeah.
The New York Yankees continue to baffle me.
Yeah.
Bringing in Aroldis Chapman on a 5-year deal. Listen, they're talking about, in 2 years they're looking to contend. Sure. Okay. So why are you bringing in a high-priced guy who all he does is throw heat, who was used way too much in the postseason last year? And all these guys who throw hard have shorter careers, except for Nolan Ryan, apparently, who just played until he was $1 million.
Well, he was in pain for much of his career. He didn't.
Yeah, he kept doing it anyway.
Well, he was a tough motherfucker, but yeah, I mean, Chapman hasn't gotten hurt yet. Obviously, you wonder, like you said, with hard throwers, when is that going to happen? Because it hasn't happened yet, but he's not getting any younger. And usually, like you said, with hard throwers, unless you're Bartolo Colon, it catches up to you. And I don't understand. I get the rationale, like, oh, in a year or two we should be contending. But look, this team has got glaring holes to fill. The Steinbrenner's sons have repeatedly said they're not going to spend $300 million to field a team anymore. They have a budget.
Yeah, and they're locking up, was it over $17 million a year into this guy?
Yeah, $86 million over 5 years. Yeah, so about $17 million, a little over $17 a year. That's ridiculous. Because, hey, by the time most of that contract happens, Who knows what's going to happen? I don't agree with it at all.
And they can't trade him for 2 seasons.
Right.
He's
going to be here for the times where you're not going to contend.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Listen, the first trade was amazing. They got a lot for him. That was great.
Sure.
And they made the moves that we said they needed to make.
Mm-hmm.
This was not the time to bring back Aroldis Chapman.
Right.
It really wasn't.
I get they need bullpen help. They need to stay. Who's their starting pitching? You got Masahiro Tanaka. His arm's going to fall off any second. It's probably falling off right now. He's probably like in his kitchen making some fucking food and his arm fell off. CC Sabathia, come on.
He's going to be done after this year.
And those guys are eating up almost $40 million this year. That's just 2 starting pitchers. And you don't even know who 3, 4, and 5 are.
I'm glad I'm not a Yankees fan because I'd be pissed off as hell. Listen, listen, if they were just like, hey, it's a blank check, we're going to go out and bring in everybody, okay, because you're going to go out and you're going to fill those other holes.
But they're not.
They're not. So they're not going to go out and still fill those holes that they need. They're like, oh, no, we're going to – listen, I'm all for bringing the young guys along and for letting them play. That's the way to do it now because everyone has money, so everyone can go out and get free agents. That's what you need to do in sports in general. The best teams are built with young players through the draft, or how the Rangers did it, where they signed guys who didn't sign with their team and came in at like 19, 20 years old.
Right.
With the team
and then you fill the holes.
Because then you can have a lot of young guys who aren't making a lot of money.
Right.
This move doesn't make sense. If the Yankees had made the ALDS last year or the ALCS, then maybe. Listen, if they're one guy away, I get it. They're not. They're 2 years away.
Yeah.
And they've said that.
Yep.
How many meaningful games is he going to be in next year?
None.
Probably none. You know, he's not going to be used very often. And so in the year after that, maybe he'll be used a little more. But by then, you know, it's consistency. He needs to be out there throwing. And they can't trade him. Listen, I understand if there's no trade clause, they bring him in, and then they trade him. Boom, you get some more guys for him. That makes sense.
Yeah.
You just can't do that now. No. So it's just baffling to me. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. We'll see. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of time between now and spring training, but they got like you said, they got holes to fill. Chase Headley's not the answer at third base. They've got Jacoby Ellsbury and Brett Gardner, who are 2 extremely regressing players in the outfield. You don't know what you're going to get out of Tyler Austin or Aaron Judge. Greg Bird's coming off missing a year. He looked good when he came up, but we got to see how he's recovered and if he's lost a step or not. There's a lot of what ifs for the Yankees, and the holes they need to fill, they don't have the pieces within right now. So, like you said, I think that $17.5 million should have gone towards 1 or maybe 2 players, sometimes even 3 players, who could have been of much more use to them both this year and going forward.
Absolutely.
We'll
All right, so moving on to our last segment, the Scumbag in Sports. Pete, you want to read it?
Yes, I do. Let me find it.
Oh, God damn it, Peter.
Yeah, sorry. All right, Scumbag in Sports is brought to you by Weight Loss by Pete. Looking to lose weight and keep it off? Come to the weight loss experts at Weight Loss by Pete. With Pete and his team of weight loss experts, that's me and you, you can learn to lose weight permanently in a healthy and sustainable way. Visit them at weightlossbypete.com today.
All right, so this is 2 weeks coming. Our Scumbag in Sports is Peter Rosenberg of The Michael K. Show. Listen, in general, I don't really mind him that much.
No.
But, dude, you need to shut up about politics. You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Listen, I know what he says because he's in the hip-hop world. That's the way he is. That's what he does.
Sure.
You're a white Jewish kid from Maryland, all right? You sound like an apologist, and then you come off like a jackass. Listen, if that's what you really believe, that's fine. It's not the time to do it when you're on ESPN radio. It's a sports talk, right?
And it's a light sports talk show.
You're not Dan Le Batard, who I also can't stand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He at least forms coherent thoughts sometimes, unlike Peter Rosenberg, who's been going off the deep end. What did I text you the other day about something ridiculous? He was comparing slavery to something absolute to like
Le Batard?
No.
Rosenberg?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was something about the shooting, the Joe McKnight shooting. Also, rest in peace, Joe McKnight, former New York Jet. But one, you don't know what happened. You weren't out there. Listen, It might very well be that this guy murdered Joe McKnight in cold blood.
And they got him.
Yeah, they got him. Listen, people are like, oh, they let him go. You don't understand how police procedures work. Yeah. If they're investigating him, they can't just hold him if at the time they don't have enough to charge him.
Right.
You can only hold someone for a certain period of time.
48 hours.
They know where he is. They have his license plate. They have his address. They know exactly who he is. They get enough information that they can charge him. Boom, they go pick him up.
That's what they did.
So everyone calm down, please. Calm down. Rosenberg is just completely out of his mind, all right? You're a sports talk person when you're on ESPN. Talk sports. You want to do whatever you want to do on Hot 97, that's fine. That's a different audience. It's a music show. Let them, if they want to let you do that, that's fine. You don't know anything about politics. Listen, I understand he didn't like Trump. I don't like Trump. A lot of people don't like Trump. I also hate Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Right? So don't come out and say, oh, well, America made a mistake. You don't know. You don't know anything about politics.
No.
You don't know any more than I do. I know very little about politics.
Yeah.
I know more than Peter Rosenberg because he doesn't even understand how our government works.
No.
He doesn't even understand checks and balances.
No,
all right? So don't even get me started on that crap.
Yeah.
But listen, you're a sportscaster. Talk sports when you're on sports talk radio.
Yeah.
All right? Remember when sportscasters just talked about sports? I remember. All right? So for that, I'm Evan Freeman.
I'm Peter Weintraub.
And check us out next week.
All right. Take it easy, guys.